Okay, so restarting the stream. I don't know what happened. I looked up at my little countdown, my clock on Streamlabs, and it showed that I had only been live for a few minutes when I have definitely been live since I don't know, 11. I've been live for a couple hours. So I was wondering if maybe the stream had restarted, and then apparently all of my audio had cut out as well. So hopefully at this point everything is back to normal. I don't have anybody viewing yet, I don't think. So I can't, there's nobody to ask if things are working. So I'm going to just kind of hang out for a second and see if my audio is back and if it's actually working. So hopefully it has come back online. But if nobody shows up for the next few minutes, I will just keep going and hope that... Okay, great. Yay! Thank you, Stonehammer. So yes, audio is back. We're good to go. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. They're doing something across the street with internet type stuff. It's not our internet service provider, but they're working on the lines, and I'm wondering if maybe whatever they were doing messed with my connection or something. I don't know. But anyway, we're back. So yeah, we found Duncan. He is hanging out in the cave with the mirror waiting for us after having killed a butt ton of darkspawn himself on the way in. So now we're going to chat with him about what's going on. So, sup, Dunkaroos? If you heard the fighting, why didn't you help?
I would have, had I not been battling them myself. Not all the kills here were yours, as you can see.
Fair.
My name is Duncan, and it's a pleasure to finally meet you. The last time we spoke, you were barely conscious.
Andera Natishan, Duncan of the Grey Wardens. I am Meryl, the Keeper's apprentice.
And I am Fenarel. Did you come here alone, human? Battling all those creatures?
Yes, though I must admit you took a great deal of pressure off me. Your Keeper did not send you after me, did she? I told her I would be in no danger.
We're not here for you. We're here for the elf. We're not in the habit of rescuing humans. We're not going to be that rude.
So, you and your friend Tamlin both entered this cave, and you saw this mirror.
That about sums it up, yep. Tamlin touched the mirror, and I blacked out.
I see. That's unfortunate. The Grey Wardens have seen artifacts like this mirror before. It is Tevinter in origin, used for communication. Over time, some of them simply break. They become filled with the same taint as the Darkspawn. Tamlin's touch must have released it. It's what made you sick. And Tamlin too, I presume.
I'm not going to give too many spoilers about the mirror, but either Duncan is misinformed, or they had intended that to be. So Origins was always intended to be like a standalone game. They never actually planned to have a second game after this. And so it's entirely possible that that was supposed to be the mirrors to expand on the world. They just kind of retconned it, but you'll find out later that that's not true. We should destroy it.
I agree. So long as the mirror exists, it is a threat to anyone nearby.
I do not fear this sickness. The Keeper knows how to cure it.
She may have weakened it, but she cannot cure it. Your recovery is only temporary. I can sense the sickness in you, and it is spreading. Look inside yourself, and you will see.
I told you Marithari seemed awfully cocky about her healing skills. I told you. Perhaps there is something to what you say. I am feeling kind of woozy now that you mention it.
Confirm it with your Keeper later if you like. For now, we must deal with the mirror. It is a danger.
Smashy, smashy? Smashy, smashy.
It is done. Now let's leave this cursed place. I must speak with the Keeper immediately regarding your cure.
What about Tamlin?
There is nothing we can do. Painted for 3 days now, unaided. Through your Keeper's healing arts and your own willpower, you did not die, but Tamlin has no chance. Trust me when I say that he is gone. Now we should return.
Wouldn't there at least be a body?
The Darkspawn would have taken it.
Why would they take his body? Not to eat it, I hope.
Darkspawn are evil creatures, and it's best to leave it at that. I'm sorry.
You don't want to know, Fenrirel. You don't want to know. Can we just leave the cave like this?
With the mirror destroyed, I doubt the Darkspawn will return.
Can we return later and search through the ruins? We could learn from many things here besides the mirror.
The cave is not safe. Everything here was exposed to the mirror's taint. If your people must come here, they should cleanse it with fire.
Have a good rest of your day too, Stonehammer. Thanks for letting me know about the issue with the stream. I appreciate it. And thanks for hanging out. Why don't you just tell me what this mysterious cure is?
It's not that simple. I would tell you more, but I must first speak with your Keeper.
Can't we keep looking?
If you prefer, I can wait outside while you look around, but I assure you, he will not be here. I suggest, however, leaving sooner rather than later. You are sick, whether you feel it or not, and it does you no good to linger.
Just want to make sure he's not here.
As you wish. I will see you back at camp.
He's not here, by the way. I don't think there's anything to loot in here. I think... oh, no, we never did get this chest. Because Tamlin interrupted me.
As you wish.
Ah, it's just gloves. All right, we have a codex entry on the Grey Wardens. Somewhere. Oh, and one on Darkspawn as well. The Grey Wardens. The first Blight had already raged for 90 years. The world was in chaos. A god had risen, twisted and corrupted. The remaining gods of Tevinter were silent, withdrawn. What writing we have recovered from those times is filled with despair, for everyone believed, from the greatest archons to the lowliest slaves, that the world was coming to an end. At Weishaupt Fortress in the desolate Anderfells, a meeting transpired. Soldiers of the Imperium, seasoned veterans who'd known nothing their entire lifetimes except hopeless war, came together. When they left Weishaupt, they'd renounced their oaths to the Imperium. They were soldiers no longer. They were the Grey Wardens. The Wardens began an aggressive campaign against the Blight, striking back against the Darkspawn, reclaiming lands given up for lost. The Blight was far from over, but their victories brought notice, and soon they received aid from every nation in Thedas. They grew in number as well as reputation. Finally, in the year 992 of the Tevinter Imperium, upon the Silent Plains, they met the archdemon Dumat in battle. A third of all the armies of northern Thedas were lost to the fighting, but Dumat fell, and the Darkspawn fled back underground. Even that was not the end. The Imperium once revered 7 gods: Dumat, Zazakel, Toth, Andorol, Razakael, Lusican, and Urthemiel. 4 have risen as archdemons. The Grey Wardens have kept watch through the ages, well aware that peace is fleeting, and that their war continues until the last of the dragon gods is gone. From Ferelden, Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. And the Darkspawn. Those who have sought to claim heaven by violence destroyed it. What was golden and pure turned black. Those who had once been mage lords, the brightest of their age, were no longer men, but monsters. Threnodies, chapter 12, verse 1. Sin was the midwife that ushered the Darkspawn into this world. The Magisters fell from the Golden City, and their fate encompassed all our worlds, for they were not alone. No one knows where the Darkspawn came from. A dark mockery of men in the darkest places they thrive, growing in numbers as a plague of locusts will. In raids, they'll often take captives, dragging their victims alive into the deep roads, but most evidence suggests that these are eaten. Like spiders, it seems darkspawn prefer their food still breathing. Perhaps they're simply spawned by the darkness. Certainly, we know that evil has no trouble perpetuating itself. The last blight was in the Age of Towers, striking once again at the heart of Tevinter, spreading south into Orlais and east into the Free Marches. The plague spread as far as Ferelden, but the withering and twisting of the land stopped well beyond our borders. Here, darkspawn have never been more than the stuff of legends. In the northern lands, however, particularly Tevinter and the Anderfells, they say darkspawn haunt the hinterlands, preying on outlying farmers and isolated villages, a constant threat. Spooky. Okay. And see if there's anything this direction. A battle axe. Oh.
Let's get started. On it. As you wish. This should be right. This should be easy enough.
You won't know what hit you!
Well, there's the rest of those skeletons that we hadn't seen yet. Didn't actually get to read what it said about the statue. Miriam potion.
Let's get started.
Commemorating the emergence of and short-lived trading relationship with dwarves who dug too high and frugal and struck elves. That is a Lord of the Ring reference. Lord of the Rings, when when Gandalf says they dug too greedily and too deep. This time they dug too frugally and too high. Oh, well done, BioWare. You made me chuckle. Well played. Okay. So I want to get a better look at this mirror just so that you can see kind of what the architecture around it looks like. So definitely Dalish in origin. We got a couple of elven archers there. Very pretty little pointed arch. The next time we see this mirror, or another mirror like it, it will not look quite that way, but it's kind of a cool design. Okay. All right, let's go find Duncan. I guess he was right. Tamlin's not here. Just didn't want to give up on my bay. Fudge.
As you wish.
Well, I guess we can't go this way. Stop stepping in the trap, you guys. Stop it. I wonder what Duncan's cure is going to be. Sure, it's nothing ominous at all. And out we go into the light.
And I did not expect to see you again so soon, Duncan.
I was not expecting to return so soon either, Keeper.
Dare I ask of Tamlin? What did you find of him?
Well, this guy says he's toast, so.
I see. Meryl, what about the mirror? Did you bring anything back?
I can answer that, Keeper. I destroyed the mirror.
I intended to use it to find a cure for this mysterious illness. I trust you had good reasons for your actions.
There is much to discuss, Keeper. I have learned a great deal since I was last here.
Let us speak privately within my Aravel, then, Duncan. Meryl, warn the hunters. If darkspawn are about, I want the clan prepared.
Manuvinen, Keeper. Right away.
Darlene, Allow me some time to speak with Duncan. Seek us out at my Aravel later, and we can discuss your cure.
Why not now?
Because I must talk to your keeper first. It will not take long.
Tell Haren Pyvel what has occurred. He now has the sad task of preparing a service for the dead. Follow me, Duncan. I'm eager to hear what you have to say.
All right. I'm going to take a brief intermission, and I will be back in a flash. All right. And we're back. Sorry about that. I had to go and get a snack because I'm getting real hungry. Okay. So, it's been so long since I've played this Origin that I don't remember if there's anything like new to explore around the camp when you come back.
Where is Tamlin? Is it as we suspected?
I don't know.
Is Tamlin dead? Everybody says he's not coming back.
Rip.
It is time for the clan to move. This accursed place has brought us no good.
Why has the Grey Warden returned with you? We have much to do before we can travel.
I don't know. Why is everybody being so grumpy with me?
You bring sad news. The Hala can sense it. They are restless and paw at the ground.
Sorry to bum the Hala out. I too am bummed out. Alright, let's talk to Pivel.
So you return with the Grey Warden, but without Tamlin. What happened, Dalen? Is he truly lost to us?
That dude says so, but I don't know if I buy that.
Even if he's not, we must leave soon. To think I'd live to see this. It seems the will of the creators that I sing the dirge for those I held in my arms as babes. I think I know why our immortal ancestors would sleep. Swiftly do stars burn a path across the sky, hastening to place one last kiss upon your eye. Tenderly land enfolds you in slumber, softening the rolling thunder. Dagger now sheathed, bow no longer tense. During this, your last hour, only silence.
I don't recognize that poem.
Our ancestors did not age as we do. The Shemlen brought a quickening to our blood that changed us forever. Instead of death, those weary of life would pass into Uthanera, the waking slumber. In doing this, they made way for the young. It was supposed to be a beautiful time, a celebration of the Elder's long life and contribution to his people. Alas, we have no such ceremonies these days.
So, it is the belief of the Dalish that when the humans took over, that they kind of infected the elves with mortality, essentially. Like, they caught dying from the humans. But in days past, the ancient elves would drink a special potion and just fall into a very deep sleep. Which it is possible to wake from. But, you know, some of them slept for centuries. And so that's the Uthanera that he's talking about. Will you prepare a service for Tamlin, please?
Of course. We've no body to return to the soil, but we shall still sing for Tamlin. The creators must come to guide him to the beyond. Tell the Keeper, it shall be done before the clan is ready to move on.
What if he's not dead, though?
We shall sing for him anyway, and pray he does not suffer. I ask only one thing, if I may. This Grey Warden. You have met him now, yes? Is he a good man?
I don't know. I've known him for 10 minutes, dude. He's hot. Sorry. I'm a little thirsty for Duncan. I don't know if he's a good man. He did save my life. All right. Yeah, gotta give him that.
Interesting. What is it he talks to the Keeper about, I wonder? Perhaps you should go and ask.
Wouldn't we all like to know? Wonder if he'll tell us anything else.
Now that's something I rarely hear. Of course.
Nope.
Then I'm sure you have much to do.
Yep.
Unless you
I sure do.
questions.
Nah.
Of course. May the gods guide your path, Dalen.
Thanks. Rip to Tamlin. See if we can sell some stuff real quick.
I see you have not returned with young Tamlin. Are we to assume the worst?
Everybody keeps asking me that. What are these dudes doing back there? At first I thought their animations were frozen, but they're not. They're just staring off into space. I didn't find him, but I don't think he's dead.
If he is as sick as you were, I wonder. Sadly, it seems we will be leaving him behind soon, regardless. I know you and Tamlin were friends. My condolences on your loss.
Let me see what you got.
Of course. Take whatever you need.
Now, when you say take, you really mean purchase. All right, let's sell some stuff that we're not going to use. A lot of shouting going on in this camp right now. Yep. I'm not going to use that, and I'll get a better one later if I have an archer companion. Sell that. Okay. Now let's go do the thing.
Your keeper and I have spoken, and we've come to an arrangement that concerns you. My order is in need of help. You are in need of a cure. When I leave, I hope you will join me. You would make an excellent Grey Warden.
What's that got to do with my cure, Duncan? Please explain.
Everything, I'm afraid. The darkspawn taint courses through your veins. That you recovered at all is remarkable. But eventually the taint will sicken and kill you, or worse. The Grey Wardens can prevent that. But it means joining us.
What do you think's worse than getting sick and dying? I bet we'll find out. You can't just give me the cure and not let me join?
The cure is only found by joining the Grey Wardens. As sole protectors against the darkspawn, we're granted some immunity to the taint. But this is not charity. We enlist only the worthy, and you have certainly proven yourself. Should you join, it's unlikely you'll ever be able to return here.
He sure is buttering me up a lot. This is very sudden.
A great army of darkspawn gathers in the south. A new blight threatens the land. We cannot outrun this storm. Long ago, the Dalish agreed to aid the Grey Wardens against a blight should that day arrive. We must honor that agreement. It breaks my heart to send you away, as it would to watch you die slowly from this sickness. This is your duty and your salvation.
So, Marathari is saying we, but I can't help but notice that I'm the only one who's being sent to fight the horrible blight monsters. I feel like she's taking some credit for things she's not actually doing here, but, you know. Alright, fine.
I welcome you to the Order. It is rare to have a Dalish amongst us, but they have always served with distinction.
I know you'll do your clan proud, Dalen. Take this ring. It is your heritage, and will protect you against the darkness to come.
A valuable gift. So, are you ready to go?
Can I stay for the funeral?
We have much ground to cover, but I cannot deny you that. Say your farewells. Then we must be off.
Come then, Dalen. Before the creators guide you from us, let your clan embrace you one last time.
One last time.
We will be traveling south through the hinterlands to the ruin of Ostagar, on the edges of the Korkari Wilds. The Tevinter Imperium built Ostagar long ago to prevent the Wilders from invading the northern lowlands. It's fitting we make our stand here, even if we face a different foe within that forest. The King's forces have clashed with the Darkspawn several times, but here is where the bulk of the Horde will show itself. There are only a few Grey Wardens within Ferelden at the moment, but all of us are here. This blight must be stopped, here and now. If it spreads to the north, Ferelden will fall.
Ho there, Duncan.
King Kalen. I didn't expect
a royal welcome? I was beginning to worry you'd miss all the fun.
Not if I could help it, Your Majesty.
Then I'll have the mighty Duncan at my side in battle after all. Glorious. Glorious. The other wardens told me you'd found a promising recruit. I take it this is she?
Allow me to introduce you, Your Majesty.
There's no need to be so formal, Duncan. We'll be shedding blood together after all. Ho there, friend. Might I know your name?
We'll be polite and courteous.
Pleased to meet you. The Grey Wardens are desperate to bolster their numbers, and I, for one, am glad to help them. You are Dalish, are you not? I hear your people possess remarkable skill and honor.
Well, thanks. That first one. Too bad the same can't be said of yours. You know of the Dalish? Do tell.
I wish I knew more, but your people aren't exactly fond of mine. For good reason. I tell you this, you are very welcome here. The Grey Wardens will benefit greatly with you amongst them. I'm sorry to cut this short, but I should return to my tent. Logan waits eagerly to bore me with his strategies.
Your uncle sends his greetings and reminds you that Redcliffe forces could be here in less than a week.
Ha! Eamon just wants in on the glory. We've won 3 battles against these monsters, and tomorrow should be no different.
Sounds like the Blight's basically over.
I'm not even sure this is a true Blight. There are plenty of Darkspawn on the field, but alas, we've seen no sign of an archdemon.
Disappointed, Your Majesty?
I'd hoped for a war like in the tales. A king riding with the fabled Grey Wardens against a tainted god. But I suppose this will have to do. I must go before Logan sends out a search party. Farewell, Grey Wardens.
What the king said is true. They've won several battles against the Darkspawn here.
You don't sound very reassured by that.
Despite the victory so far, the Darkspawn horde grows larger with each passing day. By now, they look to outnumber us. I know there is an archdemon behind this, but I cannot ask the king to act solely on my feeling.
Why not? He seems to regard the Grey Wardens so highly.
Yet not enough to wait for reinforcements from the Grey Wardens of Orlais. He believes our legend alone makes him invulnerable. Our numbers in Ferelden are too few. We must do what we can, and look to Teyrn Logain to make up the difference. To that end, we should proceed with the joining ritual without delay.
What do you need me to do?
Feel free to explore the camp here as you wish. All I ask is that you do not leave it for the time being. There is another Grey Warden in the camp by the name of Alistair. When you're ready, seek him out and tell him it's time to summon the other recruits. Until then, I have business I must attend to. You may find me at the Grey Warden tent on the other side of this bridge, should you need to.
So this is kind of the point where, like, all of the different origins are at the same place. This is where everybody's kind of on equal footing once you get done with your origin story. Gonna let this music play for a second because it's kind of loud. A lot of fanfare. Okay. So everybody ends up here after the origin story completes itself. I forgot how little fighting there is in the Dalish origin story. Like in the City Elf one, which is the one that I'm the most used to, you have to fight through like a noble's whole castle, like all of his guards and stuff, before you get to Ostagar. But we just had like a handful of darkspawn, some wolves, that big bear thing. Like there just wasn't a lot of fighting in this one, so got through that relatively quickly. So I am going to level myself up real quick. Sorry, I forgot how to make words happen. And then we can catch up on some codex entries because we've got some new characters that we have met. And we should learn some more about them. Apparently I can't level any of those up yet, so. Okay. What do we got? Archdemon. In darkness eternal they searched for those who had goaded them on, until at last they found their prize, their god, their betrayer, the sleeping dragon Dumat. Their taint twisted even the false god, and the Whisperer awoke at last in pain and horror, and led them to wreak havoc upon all the nations of the world. The first Blight. Threnodies, chapter 8, verse 7. The false dragon gods of the Tevinter Imperium lie buried deep beneath the earth, where they've been imprisoned since the Maker cast them down. No one knows what it is that drives the Darkspawn in their relentless search for the sleeping old gods. Perhaps it is instinct, as moths will fly into torch flames. Perhaps there's some remnant of desire for vengeance upon the ones who goaded their magisters to assault heaven. Whatever the reason, when Darkspawn find one of these ancient dragons, it is immediately afflicted by the taint. It awakens, twisted and corrupted, and leads the Darkspawn in a full-scale invasion of the land. A Blight. So, the Cliff's Notes version of how the first Blight started. So, a previous codex entry that we read earlier today mentioned all of the old gods of Tevinter. Each of those old gods had, so there's 7 old gods. Each one had a magister who was kind of like a high priest. They're referred to as the magisters sidereal. Sidereal is a word that describes stars or constellations. And each of the old gods has its own constellation in the Tevinter star constellation map. And so these magisters sidereal functioned as the high priests for each of these gods. So the false gods decided that they wanted their magisters to infiltrate the Golden City, which in the Chantry mythology is like the seat of the Maker. So the old gods wanted their magisters to challenge the Maker and take over the Golden City for themselves. Each of these old gods told their magister that if they could successfully take over the Golden City, that god would make their magister a god himself. So they would like elevate them to godhood. The magisters didn't really work together all that much. They kind of stuck to their own god and like just minded their own business. But because each of them had been promised separately by their own god that they would also become gods if they were able to accomplish this, they all decided to work together to try to storm the Golden City, with the expectation that they were going to be the only one that was special and got made a god themselves. So they all got kind of hoodwinked by their gods, because when they stormed the Black City, the Maker cast them out, and they became the OG Darkspawn. Like, they were the first to carry the taint with them and start infecting others. And I really kind of like this explanation of their motivation for finding the archdemons and waking them up as vengeance. Like, they're like, no, like, you don't get to snuggle up here and take a nap. Like, wake up. We're gonna go do a blight, you asshole. That just makes me laugh. So I do like that kind of explanation for their motivations. But yeah, Dumont was the very first one. He was the old god of silence. So magic and religion. The chant of light. The Blight. No matter their power, their triumphs, the mage lords of Tevinter were men and doomed to die. Then a voice whispered within their hearts, "Shall you surrender your power to time like the beasts of the fields? You are the lords of the earth. Go forth to claim the empty throne of heaven and be gods." In secret, they worked magic upon magic. All their power and all their vanity they turned against the veil, until at last it gave way. Above them a river of light, before them the throne of heaven waiting. Beneath their feet the footprints of the Maker, and all around them echoed a vast silence. But when they took a single step toward the empty throne, a great voice cried out, shaking the very foundations of heaven and earth. "And so is the golden city blackened with each step you take in my hall. Marvel at perfection, for it is fleeting. You have brought sin to heaven and doom upon all the world." Violently were they cast down, for no mortal may walk bodily into the realm of dreams, bearing the mark of their crime, bodies so maimed and distorted that none should see them and know them for men. Deep into the earth they fled, away from the light. In darkness eternal they searched for those who had goaded them on, until at last they found their prize, their god, their betrayer, the sleeping dragon Dumont. Their taint twisted even the false god, and the Whisperer awoke at last in pain and horror, and led them to wreak havoc upon all the nations of the world, the first Blight, what we just read from Threnodies chapter 8. So that's kind of a more official explanation of kind of what I was just explaining about how the gods all kind of goaded them into doing that with promises of power that never actually came to fruition, because instead they became crusty Blight monsters. So, okay, so yeah, it is this one. The Korkari Wilds. It's said that in the midst of the Black Age, when werewolves stalked the lands of Ferelden in numbers that kept every farmholder indoors and a hound on every doorstep, a powerful Arl of the Alamari people stood and declared that he would put an end to the threat. His Arling stood on the border of the dark forest on the southern border of the Ferelden Valley, and he claimed that the werewolves used the forest to launch their midnight assaults on humanity. For 20 years, this Arl led an army of warriors and hounds deep into the forest. In his hunt for the werewolves, he slew not only every wolf he came upon, but also every member of the chastened wilder folk. Any one of them, he said, could harbor a demon inside and thus be a werewolf in disguise. For 20 years, the forest rang with screams and the rivers ran red. The tales say that an old chastened woman found her sons all dead at the Arl's blades. She pulled one of those very blades from one son's heart and plunged it into her own chest, cursing the Arl's name as she did so. Where her blood touched the ground, a mist began to rise. It spread and spread until it was everywhere in the forest. The Arl's army became lost, and it's said that they died there. Others say they wander still. The ruins of his Arling stand to this day, filled with the ghosts of women waiting eternally for their husbands to return. The forest of the legend is, of course, the Korkari Wilds. There are as many legends about the great southern forest as there are shadows, or so the saying goes. The chastened wilder folk have made their home there since mankind first came to these lands, and the wildlands spread as far into the south as anyone has ventured. Beyond the mists are vast tracts of snow, white-capped mountains, and entire fields of ice. It is a land too cold for mankind to survive, yet the chastened eke out an existence even there, and they tell of horrors beyond the wilds that the lowland folk could not begin to comprehend. To most, Ferelden simply ends with the Korkari Wilds. There's nothing beyond. The wilds is a land of great trees, wet marshes, and dangerous monsters. what more need be said? From Land of the Wilders by Mother Eyeless, Chantry Scholar, 918 Dragon. And now we have two very interesting characters to explore, King Kaelin and Logan McTeer. So their little blurbs here are kind of short. I'm going to go a little bit further into each one of them. So King Kaelin. I'd hoped for a war like in the tales, a king riding with the fabled Grey Wardens against a tainted god. Son of the legendary King Mark Theron, Kaelin was the first Ferelden king born into a land free from foreign rule in 2 generations. Since his father's death, he's held the throne alongside his queen, Honora. I kind of go back and forth on how I pronounce the king's name. I should pick one and stick to it. So yeah, Kaelin's dad, King Merrick, we'll go with Merrick. He was the king of Ferelden who took back the throne from Orlais. So prior to the setting of this book, there are 2 novels in the Dragon Age series that are set as like prequels to this. So the very first one is called The Stolen Throne, and that one follows the adventures of King Merrick and Logan McTeer. In the beginning of the book, Merrick's mother, who is, they call her the Rebel Queen. Her name is Moira, and she is, the throne has been taken over by Orlais, which happened, I think, in the time of her grandfather, is when Orlais was able to take over. Her dad tries to fight against it for a while, and eventually he gives up. So she decides that she's going to fight kind of a guerrilla warfare battle from the outskirts of civilization and try to take back the throne. It doesn't really work. And at the beginning of the book, we find King Merrick and Moira being betrayed by some of their own nobles who have decided that they're going to side with Orlais. They're probably being paid very handsomely to do so. And they murder Queen Moira, which means King Merrick, who's like, I think 17 at the time, is just like, poof, you're the king now. Congratulations, you're the rightful king of this land. What are you going to do with that? And he actually ends up getting chased through the woods by one of these nobles, but he manages to kill the guy and is able to escape with his life. And then eventually he meets up with Logan, who we'll talk about in a minute, and they are able to retake the throne. And his dad also ends up adventuring with Grey Wardens for a time, and Kaelin's mom, Rowan, is actually betrothed to Merrick from a very young age. Her father is Arl Eamon Gweren, who we will meet later. Duncan mentioned him when he said, Red Cliff soldiers can be here in like a week. That is Kaelin's uncle, his mom's brother. But his mom was a badass and a great warrior in her own right. And so Kaelin grows up hearing these stories about Merrick and Rowan and Logan and all of their adventures. And he thinks that that's what war is. It's these glorious battles, and like he doesn't see the grim side of all of these things. And so he's got a very naive view of what war is like. And it should also be noted that Merrick and Logan were fighting against men. Mortal men, no superpowers. I mean, there were some mages, but like not on the same level as Darkspawn at all. Like, this kid does not know what he's getting himself into. So is he foolish? Yes. Do I also blame Sister Eyeless a little bit? Yes. So we've seen a couple of codex entries from her. She wrote down a lot of things in terms of like Merrick and Logan's history and just kind of historical and cultural things around Thedas. She recorded a lot of that as a Chantry scholar. And she kind of fed Kaelin all of these stories and was like, your parents were amazing, and like, here's all the things that they did. So it's a little bit her fault that he didn't grow up knowing the reality of how awful war is. So that's King Kaelin, and it should also be noted that at the time of this, he's still very young. He was born in 905 5 dragon, and this game is set in 930. So he is only 25. Which when I was 25, I couldn't have run a fucking kingdom. Are you kidding me? It would have been in shambles within a week. So you gotta also give him a little grace for being a youth as well. So now let's learn about Uncle Logan, not actually his uncle. It takes more than legends to win a battle. Logan was born a farmer during a time when his country was under foreign occupation. When he was still a boy, he joined the resistance where his considerable tactical genius quickly became apparent. He became close friends with Prince Merrick, the last true heir to the Ferelden throne, and together they led the rebels to drive out the forces of the Orlesian Empire. Merrick raised his friend to the nobility, and Logan is now more of a symbol than a man. He represents the Ferelden ideals of hard work and independence. So Logan is complicated. He's a very complicated character. He, as it said, he grew up poor as the son of a farmer, and during the Orlesian occupation, he and his dad are forced to watch while Orlesian soldiers beat and assault his mother and then kill her. And his dad, after this occurs, goes and murders the soldiers who did it, and then they have to kind of go on the run. Logan ends up, Merrick kind of stumbles into their little outlaw camp at some point, which Sister Eilis is there as well, along with Logan and his dad. And he doesn't reveal who he is right away. Eventually, Logan's dad figures it out, and they end up having to make a stand against Orlesian soldiers. And they are able to escape, but Logan loses his father then, too. Logan and Merrick form a really close friendship. They continue to fight against the Orlesian nobles. Eventually, they're able to overthrow the kingdom, overthrow the king, the false Orlesian king, and win back the kingdom. I mentioned Rowan earlier, who's Merrick's wife. There's a little bit of a love triangle situation happening. So Logan and Rowan actually end up having feelings for each other because, as I mentioned, Rowan is betrothed to Merrick, but it's an arranged marriage, so it's like they're very close and they're great friends, but it's not like they ever got the opportunity to just kind of fall in love organically because they've been promised to each other since they were very young. So, and this is all the Stolen Throne novel that I'm pulling this information from. So, in the process of them trying to overthrow Orlais, the Orlesian king sends an elven spy into Merrick's ranks. She seduces Merrick, and Merrick kind of falls in love with her, and she ends up kind of catching feelings too. And so at some point she decides, I don't want to do this anymore. But it's kind of too late at that point. She has already cost a lot of people their lives. Rowan finds out that Merrick and this elven woman whose name is Catriel, Rowan finds out that they are having kind of a fling, and she's very hurt because, of course, Merrick has been promised to her, and like, while it's not an organic thing that happened, it still feels like a betrayal to her. And that is when she and Logan also kind of decide, fuck it, like, I guess we'll make out too. And so they end up also sharing some intimacy together. And in the end, Catriel reveals to Merrick that she's a spy. Logan knows that Catriel at that point has decided not to continue with the ruse and to switch over to the good side, essentially. He withholds that information from Merrick and lets Merrick believe that she is still, this evil, backstabbing, traitorous spy, even though, she has feelings for him, and Logan is aware of this. He just keeps that from Merrick. Merrick ends up becoming enraged, and he kills Catriel. And at that point, their friendship sort of hits a crossroads where it's never the same again. Merrick also finds out about Logan and Rowan. It just causes a lot of strain in all of their relationships, in the relationship between Merrick and Rowan, because they do end up eventually getting married and having Caitlin. It causes issues in their relationship. It also causes issues in the relationship between Logan and Rowan, because they have to go back to just being friends when all of this baggage is hanging over everybody's heads. And it really affects the friendship between Logan and Merrick. Logan does this because he feels like it's what's best for his country. That's who Logan is really married to, is Ferelden. He is very loyal to his country, to the point that he will do anything if he believes it's what's best for Ferelden. Now, he's still very loyal to Prince Merrick, King Merrick at this point. Merrick ends up setting sail to go to, I think he's headed to the Free Marches. He's going across the sea. His ship ends up sinking, and Merrick goes missing. Logan spends 2 years searching for King Merrick to try to find him. And at some point, his daughter, Honora, and I'm trying to remember if his wife is still alive at that point. But anyway, his daughter's like, Dad, you gotta come back. Like, this is crazy. You're not gonna find him. He's gone. But he spent 2 years of his life in the northern part of Thedas trying to find him. So he obviously still cares very much for him, and is acting as not only like a lieutenant in the military for Kaelin, but also kind of a mentor and an advisor. So he still stays very close to the family, but definitely a very complicated origin up to this point. It should also be noted that in The Calling, which is the second Dragon Age novel, which is actually where we meet Duncan, I'll talk a little bit more about it when we get his codex entry, but Merrick goes off with the Grey Wardens for a long time. This is after Rowan has passed away, his wife, which he takes her death very hard. He feels like a shitty father to Kaelin, and the Grey Wardens do come with a legitimate reason that they need his help, but he also kind of looks at it as an excuse to get the heck out of there and like run away from his problems, which Logan feels very strongly against, even though Logan's kind of doing the same thing with his daughter, but that's another story. But he's very upset with Merrick for running off and leaving him, but he ends up basically having to be the king while Merrick is gone. So he has kind of borne that responsibility before, and in that respect, he's able to kind of give Kaelin some good advice on like how to run the country. So he does function as kind of like an advisor, mentor, in addition to heading up his army. So that is what we know of Logan up to this point. And we will definitely be hearing a lot from him in this game. So that was a lot of talking. I hope these big lore breaks don't bore you guys. I mean, I guess you wouldn't be watching a lore through if you didn't want to hear about lore, but there is just so much character and story and world development that goes on behind the scenes in these books. And I'm never going to be able to touch on all of it, but I just really feel like people miss out when they don't hear those aspects of the stories. So that's, kind of why I want to do this series, is so that everybody gets to know those things. Okay, sorry, my controller went to sleep, so I had to wake it back up. So this is Ostagar. Ain't she pretty? Got some little Grey Warden banners there, flapping around in the breeze. You can say hi to that soldier, but he doesn't really tell you much. Just kind of says, hey.
Hail, you must be the Grey Warden recruit that Duncan brought.
Sup, brah?
This place hasn't seen such bustle in centuries, I'll wager. Need a hand getting anywhere? Not far.
Where's
It's straight
Duncan?
ahead, just past the royal encampment. Most of your fellas are in the valley with the army, but the recruits seem to be staying up here for now.
Where's Alistair?
Try heading north. I think he was sent with a message to the mages.
Tell me about Ostagar.
Used to be a fortress long time ago, so I understand. Back in the days when the Wilders used to invade the lowlands. You were just on the eastern side of the ruin. The Tower of Ishal is there, but Tairn Logains closed it off until the battle. This side is the King's camp. We've got the Grey Wardens here, the Circle of Magi, the Chantry. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting somebody important.
Hope nobody's actually swinging dead cats. Do I hear puppies?
This is Ferelden, isn't it? The king has his kennels on the west side of camp. Stinks from all the hounds. These aren't cute puppies, though. Some of those dogs bite the darkspawn and get too much of that blood in them. It's like poison. Slow, painful death. Terrible.
They're still like cute puppies. There's going to be a lot of jokes in all the games about how much Ferelden's love dogs. And it's very true. Logan, who's like the most Ferelden possible person. The true love of his life was a Mabari that he had when he was young, which the Orlesians also took and killed. It's a thing. Fereldens love their dogs. The Orlesians, who are that's the country to the west of Ferelden. It's the France of Thedas. They speak with French accents, use actual French words. They kind of poke fun at Ferelden for how much they love dogs, like talk about how they smell like wet dog and refer to them as the dog lords, etc. So some other countries use it as an insult, but Fereldens really embrace their love of dogs. And I support that, honestly. What are the mages doing here?
A few mages, yes. They even brought those creepy quiet fellows, the Tranquil. Gives me the shivers when they talk, all cold and even. They're to the north of here, bunched up with a herd of Templars glaring at them. Can't miss it.
Where's the king?
Probably in his tent. He and Tern Logan are on the southwest side of the camp. The king likes to spend time with his soldiers, though. Sometimes even without his bodyguards. Drives Tern Logan wild, that does.
Is there anywhere to get supplies?
Quartermaster. He's just a bit to the northwest.
See if he has any other info for us.
Go on, then.
Nope, that's it.
Good luck to you, then.
So I will probably go ahead and do this codex entry on Ostagar. Then I will probably call it a day. 'Cause I gotta go and get my kids from school. Ostagar. Representing the furthest point of encroachment by the ancient Tevinter Imperium into the barbarian lands of the southeast, the fortress of Ostagar was once one of the most important defensive holdings south of the Waking Sea. It stood at the edge of the Korkari Wilds, watching for any sign of invasion by the barbarians known today as the Chastened Wilders. Straddling a narrow pass in the hills, the fortress needed to be bypassed to reach the fertile lowlands to the north, and proved to be exceedingly difficult for the Wilders to attack because of its naturally defensible position. Like most Imperial holdings in the south, Ostagar was abandoned after Tevinter's collapse during the First Blight. It was successfully sacked by the Chastened Wilders, and then, as the Chastened threat dwindled following the creation of the modern Ferelden nation, fell to ruin completely. It has remained unmanned for 4 centuries, though as most of the walls still stand, as does the Tower of Vishal, named after the great Archon that ordered its construction. Sorry, I messed up that sentence. Oh well. Ostagar remains a testament to the magical power of the Imperium that created it. From Ferelden, Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Petrine has an extensive knowledge of Ferelden. She pops up all the time. So I'm going to give just a brief scoot around of the camp just so you guys can kind of see what it looks like. But then we'll save actual talking to people and exploring the camp for next time. So more statues. So over on this side, there's the Grey Warden tent, which presumably is where Duncan hangs out. And then this is King Kaelin's tent, I think. No, wait. This is Kaelin's tent. This is Logain's tent. Sorry, had that backwards. I don't know why King Kaelin's tent has a Grey Warden griffin, but it's fine. It's whatever. There's the little fire. And then over here we have the Ash Warriors and their dogs. The mage's tent is over here. Chantry lady talking about death. Just boosting the morale all over the place. That's the quartermaster. And then up here, if you go up that direction, that's Alistair. There's a couple of elves bopping around here down in this area too. And then over here.
So, any last wishes I can help fulfill before you head into battle? Life is fleeting, you know. That pretty face could be decorating some darkspawn spear this time tomorrow. Shall I take that quiet glare as a no? Oh, well, too bad.
I thought that was Davith. We'll talk to him tomorrow. And then up here is kind of like Chantry Land, where there's like the first aid area and some churchy tents. And then over beyond that is the Grey Warden camp, which I don't think you can actually enter. So yeah, that's the camp. And next time I will actually go around and start talking to people, and we'll meet some more of our party and get going on becoming a for realsies Grey Warden. The next time I will be streaming should be Saturday night. Usually that's the day that I stream. The only reason I'm really streaming today is because it's my kid's first day back at school and nobody is in the house but me, so it was going to be nice and quiet. And also my youngest is in kindergarten this year and I was feeling kind of sad about that, so I was like, I'll distract myself with some Dragon Age. So normally I don't stream in the middle of a weekday, but Saturday evening Central American time is when I will be streaming. So I usually start around 9 and I play until like 11 or midnight my time. So I will hopefully see some of you then. In the meantime, have a great couple of days. And yeah, I will just see you then. Deresh Shiral.